On December 7, 1995, a librarian in Baltimore's George Peabody Library noticed a man acting highly suspicious. At first, she noticed that he kept turning over and looking at her. While this behavior was unusual, it didn't prompt her to take any actions. The next moment, she thought her eyes were playing tricks on her when she saw him tear a page out of the book. This still did not make her report him because she thought maybe it was just her imagination. Finally, the man became annoyed that she was staring at him. So much so, he pulled open a drawer in order to block her view. The librarian immediately contacted the Peabody Library officials. When the officials arrived, the mysterious man by the name of Gilbert Joseph Bland quickly gathered his materials and dashed out of the door. He was running up until he came to a dead end, which forced him to surrender. When the officials snatched the book he was holding, they noticed that inside were maps. The maps came from a rare book called The General History of the Late War, which was estimated to be worth $2,000. Bland gave the officials $700 to make up for the damage, and then quickly ran out the door. He was in such a rush that he left behind a plethora of evidence for the police, specifically a notebook with a hit list of all the libraries and future libraries he had to go to. The discovery also made them cross-reference his notebook and their records, noticing that he even stole maps out of previous books he checked out from the library. The librarians were absolutely disgusted, insisting that this thief was very low and committing a crime not just against them, but against history. Bland went by various fake names, including James Perry, James Morgan, Richard Ollinger, and Stephen Spardling, to name a few. He was constantly changing who he was, so much so that he even told his own daughter once that she was a stranger to him. He accessed one of the most prestigious and well-known libraries in the country, including Brown University, Duke University, University of North Carolina, and plenty more. Every book he borrowed from these places was missing maps. Bland was most definitely equipped with the rarest maps in the country. In fact, he was so notorious that map dealers all across the country knew of him and were also confused as to where he was getting all of these rare maps. One former map junkie said there is such a thing known as cartomania, which means an obsession with maps. This obsession, he said, becomes too much when done for excessive amounts of time. He said that although the obsession itself is quite obnoxious and a twisted pursuit, he didn't think that there was a problem with map collecting. According to Edward Ripley Duggan from the Antiquarian Booksellers Association of America, people collect maps for various reasons, some being passionate about it, whilst others just being outright greedy. Bland appeared to be the greedy bunch. His interest in maps was driven solely by monetary incentives rather than wholesome, genuine intentions. He and his wife opened a shop in the mall that cultivated a vast collection of maps. Another shop owner who was located across from Bland's shop recalled that his shop was always empty, and he wondered how Bland made any money. As it turns out, Bland was conducting business with clients who were long distance. A former client of Bland said he was very clueless, but he tried to put on an act as if he knew what he was talking about. He remembered that Bland was also clueless in sales and the value of the maps he sold. He would literally ask the client for an offer and just blindly accept any money that he was told. Regardless of how ignorant Bland was at understanding maps and sales, his business known as Antique Maps and Collectibles was growing at a rapid pace. Map dealers across the country would raise their eyebrows in amusement, shock, and suspicion. They were surprised at how this small shop got access to so many rare maps. Even more so, they gawked at the low prices Bland was selling them for. Because map dealers are known to be more friendly and supportive in their community, not one map dealer mustered up and accused Bland of stealing maps. Bland was all for connecting with the prosperous bunch of folks. He attended 2 large map industry conventions, and at both of them, he was a big presence. There was a time where someone would just call up Bland and ask if he had X map, in which Bland would call back the very next week saying, "Why, yes I do." Once the news spread about his crimes, Bland fled his former address and feverishly worked on disposing of all the maps. Bland emptied his store in the middle of the night, leaving a note to his landlord that said, quote, "See you later," end quote. With the help of the FBI, they tracked down Bland in his Florida house, entering in with a search warrant. On January 2, 1996, Bland turned himself in to authorities. When Bland was arrested, the map dealers around the country were not surprised given the absolute absurdity of his business. The concept of one man doing all of this was mind-blowing, with one map dealer saying Bland, quote, "was straight like an arrow." When something like this happens, you say to yourself, "Wow, I just don't understand human nature," end quote. With another map dealer saying, quote, "he was a hell of a con man," end quote. Astonishingly, when Bland was caught, he never disclosed where he hid the maps he stole. Some say he hid them all around the world, in Italy, Sweden, Norway, to New Jersey, Virginia, and even India. In order for the FBI to get this valuable information, in their plea negotiations, they asked Bland to release the location of the maps. He agreed and directed them to a storage room in Florida, which held a total of 150 maps that were ranging from the 16th century to the 20th century. From his clients, they retrieved 100 more, totaling 250 maps, with a market value of $500,000. A psychoanalyst interpreted map collectors as people who are trying to find their past and origins. Growing up, Bland's parents divorced when he was 3, and he was abused by his stepfather. After high school, he committed a series of other crimes. He was also a part of the army and served in the Vietnam War, which his lawyers claim gave him post-traumatic stress disorder. This argument was used in court by his lawyers, which helped him in getting a shorter sentence of 17 months. Map dealers around the world were so shocked at this light sentence, saying people don't understand the magnitude of his crime. What do you think about Bland? Do you think Bland was financially driven, or just searching for his past and happened to find a way to make quick money? Let me know in the comments below. And please like, share, and subscribe for more content.